Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, where we proudly provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and my show today is Take Steps and Kick IBD. And this is in support of the Crohn's Colitis Foundation and the Take Steps Walk that is going to take place May 16th, 2026 at Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia. So thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit more about IBD, and I want you to feel comfortable if you want to share anything in the comments or the notes. If you are a patient or you're a caregiver or you're an advocate and you have something to say, I'd love to hear from you. So what is IBD? Because we have these three letters, IBD. What does it actually mean? It's inflammatory bowel disease, and it's a chronic condition that causes ongoing inflammation. So when you think about inflammation in your body, think about inflammation in your digestive tract or your GI tract. And there's two main types of IBD, but they're not the only ones. So there's Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. And if you know anything about me, you know that I have ulcerative colitis. I was diagnosed in August of 1991. And so it's a chronic condition that has no cure. There's no cure at the moment, although with all of the donations and the R&D, there are many more options for patients like myself to find relief from the pain and from the frequency. And so we're looking hopefully for one day when there will actually be a cure. What happens is that IBD occurs when our immune system attacks itself. It attacks our gastrointestinal tract because it thinks that it is not actually part of our system. It's in an attack mode. And so this leads to symptoms like abdominal pain, diarrhea, fatigue, weight loss. You could be losing blood. And then flare-ups can range from very mild to severe. So I know of people who have been hospitalized, who had to have emergency surgery. So it can depend for each patient. It is a lifelong condition that can have periods of remission and also active disease. So I know for me, with all the years that I've had it, the longest time I've ever been in remission was 2 years. I'm currently in remission, knock on wood, everywhere, for 11 months. So while there's currently not a cure, there are medical options and management of our lifestyle that can help. So if you have a diagnosis of ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease, I know sometimes it can feel like it is the end of the world. But for me, I've done a lot of soul searching through this whole path, and I wouldn't be able to be here with you today if I wasn't an ulcerative colitis patient, because my journey has actually taken me here. And just a little bit of background before we get more into building a life with IBD. When I first started in radio and television, my first show was called Stories of Hope and Inspiration. And it was really meant for people who have been diagnosed as patients of IBD to share their story, because many times living with this disease, it becomes very embarrassing and very shameful, and it's not something that patients typically want to talk about. So I started my platform, which at the time was Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn, so that people would have a place to actually share their story and not feel ashamed and not feel humiliated. And it's interesting because I've met people along the way who judge and label people who have IBD, and then someone in their family gets it or they get it, and then their perspective change, because it can happen to any of us. It can happen to any one of us. So how do we build a life when we are living with IBD, knowing that it is chronic, knowing that it is incurable, knowing that it is extremely painful, knowing that we might not be able to leave the house. We might not be able to go to social events. We might decide to live our life in a life of isolation. And so there's a lot of emotional pain that goes along with this. And so today I'm going to be looking at that and talking about it from my viewpoint. So whatever it is that I'm sharing today, this is from me as an ulcerative colitis patient. So the diagnosis that I got was not a life sentence, but it was a call to action. And the call to action was that I was going to have to make some adjustments in my life. And I know that's not something that everyone is open to. I mean, in a number of the shows that I do, I talk about how people want change, but yet they don't want to do anything to get the change. They just want the change to happen just because. And as I've said before, there's no magic pill. There's no magic wand, and there's no magic carpet ride that's going to change your situation if you have IBD. So we have to make lifestyle choices. And some of the choices might be unpleasant. Some of them might be frightening or scary, meaning that we actually have to talk to someone about it. We actually have to be able to confide in people. And so that's why organizations like the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation exist, to give people resources where they can go and share their story and not be judged. And also to get information and find out which doctors might be the best ones for us to go to, and what are the current treatment options, and who is in the community, and how can we be a part of the community instead of being isolated. So for me, I joined the Crohn's Colitis Foundation as a volunteer in 2018, and I've been on the board since 2019, and I've been a leader of various events. And as I mentioned, the Take Steps Walk, which is coming up. I think this is my fourth Take Steps Walk, or my fifth, I'm not really sure, but it's a great opportunity to be with people who understand what you're going through. And that's not just patients, but it's family members, it's doctors, it's nurses, it's caregivers, it's people who understand and are there to provide support. So I'll be talking a little bit more about this event as we go through this. But where I want to start is thinking about the emotions that we experience. There can be fear, there can be relief, there can be confusion, there can be anger, there can be, why is this happening to me? Or why is this happening to my child? Or why is this part of our life now? And we might not always get the answers that we need that can squash these feelings, because we're entitled to our feelings and they come up, especially when we don't actually know how long a flare is going to last or how bad it's going to be. But our mindset makes a huge difference. And so the first thing I'd like to share is, not everyone in your life is going to understand what you're going through. They're not. And not everyone is going to be a team player. And that's okay. Everyone's on their own journey. So you'll find very quickly who's going to stand by you and who maybe is not able to. And when I say not able to, sometimes we do not have the capacity. We haven't grown to the point where we can be supportive of other people and get out of our own way. And what I mean by that is, when something happens to someone else, sometimes it is a mirror for us to say to ourselves, I wonder if that could happen to me. or I wonder why it hasn't happened to me. And people become afraid. So some people will be supportive and other people might not. You'll find out very quickly. Some people will offer solutions. I had people saying to me when I was in corporate, can't you just take Pepto-Bismol? No, no, you can't take Pepto-Bismol. One thing has nothing to do with the other. People don't bother to do any research. They just offer suggestions. And many times it's because they feel helpless. They don't actually know what it is that they can do to support. And another thing is that people can feel angry because they had a certain relationship with you and maybe you did certain things together and now you can't do them. And so now the person is left thinking, wow, I really wasn't expecting this. So we have to focus our mindset on healing and on surrounding ourselves with people who do give us grace, who do want to understand, and who do provide support. And I really feel very strongly here. This goes along with what I teach people when it comes to elevated listening. We have to set boundaries. And the boundaries can be as simple as you don't have to tell everyone in the world what's going on with you. You don't have to post it on social media exactly what you're going through. Or if you feel it's therapeutic and you want to, that can be a boundary that you also set. But be prepared for people who are very negative, people who are coming from a place of fear and anger, that you may not get the support that you're looking for. So you make that determination for yourself. And then set a boundary of how you can live a healthy lifestyle that is beneficial to you getting yourself into remission or staying in remission. And so I'll share something with you that I think is quite interesting. I decided 37 days ago today that I was not going to eat any more sugar and I wasn't going to drink wine. I love Chardonnay, and I just decided I wasn't doing either one of them anymore. And something that's very interesting to me is my blood pressure, which for, I think since 2012, when my father passed away, it was about 151 over 100, 110, and that's on medication. Now it's 98 over 68 on average. And that's been the last 37 days. It's been in that realm. And so what did I do differently? Well, I took away items that cause inflammation. Alcohol causes inflammation and sugar causes inflammation. And was it hard to do? Is it hard to do? No, it actually hasn't been hard to do. Do I find that I'm a completely different person? No, but I think that I am much sharper. And I feel like with doing intermittent fasting every day, it comes very easily to me. I'm doing between 13 and 18 hours a day. And I think I'm doing things that are best for my health, because if ulcerative colitis is inflammation in the GI tract and I take as much of the causers or predictors of inflammation out of the equation, then one would think that the likelihood of it coming back and staying around would be less. I don't know, but I'm just throwing it out there because I think that makes logical sense. So when we get a diagnosis, which again, mine was in 1991, I will not forget that day ever. I was at the University of Pennsylvania and I was with Dr. Gary Lichtenstein, and I was with my mother. And when I got the diagnosis, I felt like a part of me had died. And I felt like as a woman, that any idea I had of myself of being attractive or sexy or viable was over, because who could possibly love me with this disease? And I felt like that probably from 1991 until 2018 when I found the Crohn's Colitis Foundation. And I'll talk about that later. But there's so much information that we get. And so what happens is, at least for me, it's kind of like I'm already in incredible pain. I've already been filled with shame and embarrassment. And now thinking, am I going to die? Like, what's going to happen to me? So there's all those emotions that I am processing. And at the same time, I'm still working. I still have a career. I still have obligations and responsibilities. And yet I have to find a way to deal with this disease. So there's a number of advertisements that I've seen on television which are discussing how ulcerative colitis actually ends up controlling us, the patients. And that's true. Ulcerative colitis was running my life. I wasn't making the decisions. I was letting the disease make the decisions for me. And what does that mean? What it means is that I became terrified to leave the house. What it means is that I needed to know where every bathroom was along the way of wherever it was I was going. What it means is I had to bring a change of clothes. I had to bring diapers. I mean, all these things that most people never want to talk about, that's what I've had to deal with most of my life. And when you have to deal with these things, all of a sudden it puts things in perspective. You have a job to do. I was meeting with clients. I was traveling the world on airplanes. And most of what I was doing was entertaining, really. I was in sales, but I was entertaining. And I can't even eat. I couldn't eat or drink because that is what would cause my system to just erupt. And so not everyone would understand. You go out to dinner. What do you mean you're not eating anything? What do you mean you're not drinking anything? Because it brings light on the other person, because now they feel a certain way about eating or drinking, which has nothing to do with me, has nothing to do with you. But that's how we are as humans. We start putting it back on us and making it all about us. So I did the best that I could. And I remember I was in Panama on a company program. I sold meetings and events, and I was actually in Panama, and I was going to be there for 3 weeks. And I was so sick. What I found was the only thing I could eat was the pizza that they served there. So I was eating pizza twice a day. It wasn't very rich pizza, but it was just pizza and water, because I was so ill that that's all I could keep down, really. And so it had a big impact on me. I became anemic. I was very tired, and starting to pull away from people, because you look and other people are having active lives and I'm having activity running to the bathroom all the time. And then you get into the bathroom and, for those of you who are shy about these things, don't listen, but you get into the bathroom and you really have to go, and there's other people in there. And then when you come out of the bathroom, you're going to have to see those people, and it's humiliating. It's hard to explain if you've never gone through it. So if you ever see someone or know of someone who has ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease, please give them grace, because your body is doing what it wants to do. And you're trying to get to the restroom, and you may or may not make it. And when you get in there and then there's a line of people, it's just very hard to explain. So it really does jade us in some ways, where we just decide, you know what, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going out of the house until I'm in remission. And that's how some of us live our lives. And I'll share a story with you, which I think is kind of interesting. I had signed up to be in a fundraiser for the Crohn's Colitis Foundation. It was called Team Challenge. And we were going to Vegas to do I don't know if it was a 5K or a 10, I think it was a 10K. And so I was not in remission at the time when the race was coming up. Of course, when I signed up for it, I was. And now I had to fly to Vegas, and I was going to be doing a 10K run. So I remember just flying out there thinking to myself, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And of course, anytime I would fly, I couldn't eat or drink for 2 days, because just a sip of water could trigger your system to start. And if you think about it, as a quick digression, for any of us who have had colonoscopies, if you think about it, before you go for a colonoscopy, you have to drink this entire, I don't know if it's a gallon, I think it's a gallon of fluid. And so even though you may drink all of that, that doesn't mean it's going to clean you out. So just because I would stop eating for 2 days doesn't mean that my system was cleared out. And so I had to get on a plane. I had to interact with people. I'm not only representing the Crohn's Colitis Foundation, but I'm representing myself as a human being. And then it was the day before the race. And I thought, I can't do this. There's no way I can walk, let alone run. And I remember saying to myself, people have given donations. You have somebody's, another patient, I was wearing her picture on my jersey that I was going to be running in. So I was representing her. And I thought, you know what, if you have to crawl, you're going to have to do this. And so on the way over there from the hotel, they actually stage it so that not everyone is coming at the same time. So I ended up walking with a group of people. And this woman I never met before, she and I started talking, and she told me she had just gotten out of the hospital where she was operated on. I don't know if it was Crohn's disease, but she actually had to have an operation, and she was coming to do this race. And I thought to myself, what am I complaining about? This woman was literally just cut open in a hospital and is now at this race. So she and I went together, and we started together, and we said we were going to walk. And so we were walking, and all of a sudden I just got this desire to start running. And I ran the rest of the race. I ran almost the whole entire race. And I ended up finishing, and I can't remember if it was first or second in my age category. And so what went from being this overwhelming, horrific thing, I was able to actually do something because I told myself I could do it. I challenged my own thought process and used this woman's story as a foundation of, why am I feeling so sorry for myself? I'm creating this. Yes, I have a disease. Yes, I'm not in remission, but I'm making it worse because of the story that I'm telling myself. So I told myself a different story. And the story was, if this woman could be in the hospital and be operated on, and now she's here in Vegas for this race, I can do this. And I did it. And I will never forget it. And I think I actually sobbed at the end, because if you train your mind, if you have a state of calm, a state of stability, you can accomplish so much. But if you tell yourself you can't do it, if you say to yourself, you know what, I have a disease, I am a disease, I'm a victim, I'm weak, you will be that. So what I learned to do was to build structure. I learned what was it that I could eat or do that would be a trigger. And here's something that I want to clear up. Having IBD is not because you are under stress. It's not because you willed it on yourself. You are genetically predisposed, or it could be environmentally, that you have IBD. That doesn't mean if you get stressed out that you are going to have a flare. What it means is it can make the flare worse. And people have said to me over time, oh, the reason you got sick this year was because of this. No, that's not the case. If you let it be the case, then that can be the case. So I'll give an example. Last year, my apartment was flooded through no fault of my own. Apparently, someone upstairs on another floor, they decided to hang their clothes from the sprinklers. I don't know why, but they did. And so the sprinklers went off. And so my apartment was flooded, and I was already in a flare. And so what ended up happening was I had to move to a hotel for 3 weeks. So just imagine you are me. Okay, you have ulcerative colitis, which means you have to be close to a bathroom. So now your apartment is flooded, and you've got to get as much of your stuff out of the apartment and put it into another place that they were letting me put it into. Then you have to move into a hotel. You have to come back to your apartment periodically because they have the recon people here with their giant fans, and you've got to move things around at the same time that you are working and you are sick. So last year at this time, I probably, and again, for those of you who are shy to this kind of thing, I probably was running to the bathroom 50 times a day, 50. Imagine that. You see me here the way I look today, crawling on the floor, trying to get to the bathroom. The worst pain I have ever known. So, could the flood have made my flare worse? Yes, it absolutely could have. This year, my apartment was flooded again. You may say that it is cursed. I don't know. Maybe it is. No one lives upstairs now, but before they left, apparently they left a window open and a pipe froze in the wall. And so believe me, when the water started, actually in this room that we're in now, I went upstairs because I wanted to look that person in the face, and no one was living there. So this entire studio was flooded. All the equipment was ruined. I have a brand new stand-up desk that I'm using right now with new lights and everything else. And my ulcerative colitis is at bay. So knock on wood again. So the point is, when something traumatic happens, that doesn't mean that you're going to get a flare, but you can identify it. Are there people who bring out the worst in you? Are there foods that you eat that make you feel sick? Stay away from them. Stay away from caffeine. I haven't had caffeine in at least, I want to say 15 years. I don't even know how long it's been. It's been a very long time. Caffeine causes your GI system to act in a more rapid pace. So it's constantly processing. So if you are drinking caffeine, you're doing yourself a disservice. So look at what are the triggers and who are the triggers and how are you showing up. We can never control other people's behavior, but we can control how we show up. Are we engaging in getting in an argument? Are we helping the conversation get to a volatile point? Are we choosing to set a boundary and say, you know what? I choose not to engage. I am not going to have this conversation with you, because we can't have a conversation by ourselves. We can talk to ourselves. I talk to myself all the time. But if you're having a conversation with someone and it's really bringing up things for you that you don't want to deal with because you are likely in a flare or a flare is coming, you walk away. I'm sorry, I can't have this conversation right now. The next thing is having a routine, having something that is stable in your life that you can count on. So every day doing the same things. Of course, having a doctor, a medical team that you can count on. Okay, so first you have to establish who is on your medical team. Do you trust them? Do you feel comfortable? Are you able to make a phone call or send it an email or go to a portal and put information and you get something back in a timely manner? And to me, a timely manner, it might be 24 hours. I'd like something back in a few hours. I'd like to be able to call someone and they actually answer the phone and they say, this is what you need to do. Instead of, if you're not feeling well, go to the emergency room. I used to hear that a lot. Go to the emergency room. And you know what happens? I did that. You go to the emergency room, they can't accommodate you, and you're lying on a gurney in a hall, and you got to be in a bathroom. How does that help anything? Better for me just to stay at home than do something like that. So find out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Now, also, I talked about nutrition, also working out, having some kind of structure in your life so that you can eliminate stress and also have a healthy body and a healthy mind. Finding some place to take whatever the stress is that's going on in your life and get rid of it. Having people you can talk to, like a support group, like the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, like a community of patients, caregivers, and advocates. It's really important. Now, what about if you're working? What about if you have a career? What should you discuss at work? That is something that you're going to have to explore on your own, because sometimes people feel that they are discriminated against because they share their truth. And sometimes you probably are. No one's going to admit that to you. But I know for me, someone said to me, how long do you think you'll have enough energy to do this job? When I was in corporate, I was flabbergasted by that comment, because I didn't think that they should have the right to say anything about my illness, but people will. And so you have to look and say to yourself, am I working at an organization where they care about me as a person? And for many people, we go out on our own and say, you know what, I don't need this anymore. I'll do my own, business. I'll be my own boss, but not everyone can do that. So think about how much you want to disclose, and you probably will be protected by Americans with Disability. Look into it. I don't know, depending on where you are in the world, I would guess. And again, I don't have knowledge on that, but look into it. And then setting the stage for yourself to succeed. Taking on as much as you can take on, and then having boundaries. And boundaries could be this. Maybe you're very involved with your career, and so that's not going to give you a lot of time for socialization. Maybe just socializing in and of itself is very stressful. I know for me, what I would do for socializing is I would invite people over to my house. And I would say, hey, I'd love to see you. Do you mind coming over? Because if they came over to the house and I wasn't feeling well, excuse me, and then I run to the bathroom. Much easier than being in a restaurant or being at someone else's house and dealing with all the stress that comes with that. So isolating yourself may or may not be the best idea, but we are social creatures. So we do need some kind of socialization. working on the computer, maybe having Zoom calls. I know during the pandemic, I even had a Zoom birthday party, Zoom happy hours, at least interacting with people in some way so that you don't feel so isolated and so alone. So I think one of the most important things is our mental resilience. We're not denying the fact that we have a disease, but we're not the disease. We are not the disease. And there are options out there. There are treatments. And what I have found when I was running a support group, I found, not just from what I would share, but from what other patients would share, that a lot of these options, these biologics, for example, and I have no research about this, I'm just telling my experience as a team leader and a support group leader, is that the biologics do well for a certain amount of time. And then after that amount of time, something else has to happen. So to me, at the crux of it is, what can we as human beings do to help ourselves? And to me, the mindset, our mindset is the most important. What we put in our bodies, what we surround ourselves with is the most important. When I was younger, I'll be 63 next month, I remember someone saying to me that my life was very filled with drama and that I must love the drama. And I kind of took that as an insult, but later on, I started thinking that my life was really filled with drama. Today, no drama. Now you could say, oh, your apartment was flooded twice, but the way I handled it, no drama, very calm. Anything can happen to any of us. How we show up will show how our body is reacting. So if your body is speaking to you, listen, something needs to be changed. And a lot of illnesses, diseases, the center of it is inflammation. So how can we eliminate, or how can we minimize inflammation? A lot of it has to do with what we're putting into our bodies, who we're surrounding ourselves with, what we're reading, what we're watching, what we're responding to. We get to make choices in all these areas. So when you think about being diagnosed with a chronic disease for which there's no cure, I have to think to myself, what is it I can control about my life that can help minimize the amount of stress and the amount of inflammation? And so we all make choices. And so think about, what are the choices that you can make? And if it's someone in your family, by the way, you're the caregiver, you can present options, but that doesn't mean that they have to accept them. And you want to be careful about how you present options, because just like I shared with you, someone said to me, do you think you have enough energy to still do this job? That was a judgmental statement. So you don't want to be problem solving for someone else. You don't want to be putting someone in the corner and saying, well, the reason why you're sick is this. You don't know that. That's just your opinion. You don't know that. The person needs someone to listen to them. And if you don't feel like you're that person, ask yourself why. You've been in a relationship with this person, you've been friends with this person, you work with this person. Why is it that you're not open to listening? Because you're afraid? Because you think you're going to laugh? I've witnessed situations where I have seen adults, and a male adult specifically, at a 5-star hotel in a suit and tie with his wife, literally running to get to the elevator because his bowels had started going and he wasn't in a bathroom. And he was running through the lobby with defecation coming out through his pants. And I saw people laughing at him. They were literally laughing at the man. And my heart just broke for him, because how can you laugh when someone is in pain? It's not funny. And so ask yourself, why is it that you are an arm's distance away from your friend who's been diagnosed with IBD? Why is it that you've stopped calling? Are you afraid? Are you judging them? I don't know the answer. And maybe you are a good friend, and maybe you are standing by them. Maybe you're doing some research so you could learn more about what they're going through. Whatever it is, it's not my place to judge. I'm just here to get you to think and to offer some type of education and knowledge based on my own experience. So I think it's 35 years now that I've had ulcerative colitis. And it's been quite a journey, but I could not be the person I am today unless I was going through this. I don't know when it's going to come back. I don't know if it's going to be tomorrow, next week, maybe it'll be never. There's certain key signs that I look for. First of all, my left-hand side, it started out, I think it was 5 centimeters, and now it's like 25. It sounds like an orchestra playing in my side. All of a sudden, I hear all of this noise. But what I found was, since I started taking these supplements, collagen, greens, and protein, which are from Lifetime Fitness, by the way, I'm not a paid spokesperson, but I found that all of a sudden my intestinal tract seemed to be at peace. I don't hear that orchestra anymore. And so maybe I'll be in remission for the rest of my life. I don't know. Maybe tomorrow I'll wake up and I won't be. I don't know. All I know is that I have control over what my thoughts are, and I'm not going to put that into my thought process. As far as I'm concerned, I'm staying in remission. I'm doing the things that I need to do. I've given up alcohol. I've given up sugar. I don't eat caffeine. I don't eat red meat. I could go on and on. At this moment, I have 0 vices. And so I feel pretty good about that. And hopefully my body will feel good about that as well. So what would I like for you to take away from this? First of all, if you get a diagnosis, it's not the end of the world. IBD is chronic, but it is manageable for most of us. I'm not going to say everyone, because that's not the case. Having structure, having a routine creates stability. And having boundaries about what you will and will not accept, what you will and will not do, what you will and will not surround yourself with, put into your body, that protects your energy. And most importantly, having a community around you creates acceptance. It also helps create education and awareness, because you're going to have information and options that you might not have been aware of before. So if you are out there living with IBD and you feel like you're misunderstood, you can find a home at the Crohn's Colitis Foundation. You can contact me. There's so many people. Crohn's Colitis Foundation is a worldwide organization. Over the summer, I was in Vienna and I was out for a walk, and I passed this building, and right there on the building was a marquee for the Crohn's Colitis Foundation. I took a picture of it. I was like, wow, they really are worldwide. The Take Steps Walk for 2026 is coming up. If you are in the tri-state area of the United States, if you are in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, even New York, you can join my team. You can walk with me. You can donate. You can be part of Dr. J's Colitis Crew, which is sponsored by USA Global TV and Radio. I'm going to put up a link right now, and this link is a place that you can go to make a donation and to join my team. All of the money goes directly to Facebook. It is a Facebook fundraiser. And so I would love to have people out there join my team as well as donate, because if you think about it, I just shared with you that as a patient, there are more options now than there ever were before. There are more treatments now than there ever were before. Well, how did that happen? Through people giving money. And you might say to yourself, well, you know what? I don't have a lot of money. $5, $1, $10. I've just given money to 2 other organizations. I'm fundraising for Crohn's colitis. I have my own charity that I have, USA Global TV and Radio Voices of Humanity. And I'm giving money to other people's charities. Why? Because giving back feels so good. Helping other people feels so good. But when we start judging how much we have to give, then we get in our heads and we don't do anything. So make a donation, please. It doesn't matter how much it is. You can be anonymous. And if you don't want to be anonymous, great as well. I like to reach out and thank each and every person who have donated to my team in the past, and I will be doing the same thing. If you're not following me on Facebook, you can follow me now. Go to this link and you will see my personal page, which is Jacalyn Kerbeck. Thank you for being with me. I really do appreciate it. In fact, I think what I'm going to do is, give me 1 second. I'm going to bring up the actual Facebook page. Here it is. So this is Dr. J's fundraiser for Philadelphia Take Steps. And this is where you would actually donate your money. So you see here that I need $3,000 and we have $143 that's been donated. So I'd really appreciate any amount that you can donate. Again, it doesn't matter. This was me with my mother. My mom has since passed away, but we had so much fun together. And that's all I'm going to say about that. All right. Well, thank you again for watching and listening. I really do appreciate it. And we will be going over to our sponsors. We'll see you again. Thanks again for being here.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honored to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USAGlobalTV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dies. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.